Good evening. We are coming back into resume the public session. We do apologize for the lengthiness of our executive session, but we had a number of issues that needed to be discussed with legal counsel, and so we do appreciate your patience. At this time, could we please rise for the pledge? And considering that this weekend our varsity football team advanced in their round of the playoffs, and our Assistant Superintendent of Human Resources is a Hall of Famer, football Hall of Famer here in the district, would Nelson Briggs please lead us in the pledge?
Sure. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everybody. All right, so just as a reminder, the emergency exits in the event of any emergency, please notice there's an exit directly to the rear of the room and also to my right, your left. Please exit those through those areas calmly. Also want to remind you that this is a smoke-free district and also a hate-free and bully-free district. And we hope you enjoyed your time with us at this meeting. All right, we're on to item C, the consent agenda, items 1 through 8. Mr. Superintendent, you ready?
The administration recommends approval of curriculum items reflected in schedules C1 through C7.
Okay.
C8.
C. Everybody has that? We had to refresh the agenda, so it's
Correct.
1 through 8.
My apologies.
No, that's okay. Any questions on the
Wait,
consent
you need a
agenda?
motion?
Oh, sorry, yes, we need a motion. Motion by trustee Barry, seconded by trustee Kavanaugh. Now, are there any questions? Seeing no questions, all those in favor of consent item 1 through 8, please raise your hands. Thank you. Seeing all hands raised, the motion passes unanimously. Now we're on to communication and announcement, and we begin with the superintendent's report.
Thank you, President Felice. Just going to toggle this over here. All right, welcome board. I'm going to get right to it. It's been a few weeks since our last board meeting, so there's quite a few things I want to catch the board up on and the community as well for the benefit of those who are watching. First and foremost, it feels odd considering Thanksgiving is a week away that I'm still talking about trunk or treat. But I did have the privilege of visiting 3 more schools at their trunk or treat events. Included here is Kramer, fantastic time with the kids and staff and community members who supported this fun activity for our district's children. I had the privilege of going to the trunk or treat at Brookhaven, which is another fantastic event, lots of fun. And finally, our final event was at Bellport High School, which was facilitated by the clubs there, who had really interesting activities, including a robotics team, who had some robots on display for the kids. And I just wanted to extend an appreciation for everyone who has participated in all 5 of our trunk or treat events, including South Country Ambulance, the Bellport Fire Department, Hagerman Fire Department, Brookhaven Fire Department, Bellport Village, our parents and community members, of course, and our South Country staff. All these different community groups participated in Trunk or Treat, our Fire Safety Week, and Homecoming. So I just wanted to show the appreciation. We are contemplating doing one massive event next year instead of 5 events. I think it would be really nice to get all of the district's children together for one massive celebration. It's something that actually one of the PTAs brought to my attention, and I was like, wow, that sounds like a fantastic idea. And also limits the amount of candy kids are getting. So we have one event versus 5. That might be great. We also had our superintendent's conference day, and while students were home and hopefully the adults were voting in our midterm elections, our teachers and staff were hard at work, engaged in professional learning. And I wish I could take credit for superintendent's conference day because superintendent is in its name. But really the credit goes to Beth Doyle, our Assistant Superintendent for Curriculum, Jack Burke, for putting the agenda and what we call a s'more together, which was basically a menu of options for our teachers to engage in training, our directors, and all of the teachers that presented. And it really was a fantastic structure to structure the day like an Ed Camp. And if you're not familiar with Ed Camp is basically a professional learning day where educators have a menu of options that they can select, and they pretty much go from class to class learning. So I thought that was a great idea versus having someone from the outside come in and talk to our staff about best practices. But we covered various topics, I'm sorry, I'm going ahead of myself, various topics including positive framing, getting adolescents to interact with poetry, supporting our English language learners, Socratic seminar, and kind of everything in between. It really was a robust menu of options, and really an acknowledgement of the great work that we're doing as a school district. If anything, it was a display of all the talent we have in-house, and I feel privileged to be part of such a great team. And I also have to give credit to our safety officers for managing our elections and our parking, and all those little things that they help run smoothly on that day, our clerical staff that works behind the scenes, and of course our custodians for keeping our buildings going, and our food service workers who provided breakfast. But it was really cool. It was housed at the high school, and that picture on the lower left-hand corner was the teachers moving from class to class, which was also really good to see teachers engage in learning. And we always promote this idea that we're lifelong learners, and this certainly was a manifestation for that. So I want to thank our teachers and staff who participated in this. I really do think it was a fruitful day and a good use of our time.
It's like a little bit too much congregating in the hallways there.
I was walking around
Just
making sure
kidding.
people got to class on
Just
time.
kidding.
So, but it was interesting to walk into classrooms and see teachers learning from their peers. I thought that was fantastic. So
I think the best one, hold on, let me see Mr. Max squeezed into that little desk.
There he is.
And I could say, because I'm as big as Mr. Max, so somebody passed that along to him.
And another comment, the music department, the high school music department did display some of the conference material of the teachers there that were in the playing band, singing chorus.
Right.
It was just wonderful.
It was wonderful.
Yeah.
So really good day, and so really productive day, and the feedback was overwhelmingly positive because again we used in-house people to provide the training. So if you sit and one of your peers is talking about best practices, it's going to impact you differently. So I thought that was great. Going backwards. All right. And our staff continues to do great things. This is a team of teachers and administrators that presented at the Long Island Social Studies Conference. They were talking about our work with the Seal of Civic Readiness, some of our citizens groups, and some of those initiatives that we're doing at our schools. And it's always good to see South Country represented at these conferences because it really just puts us on the radar for a very positive reason. So included in that picture was Ms. Bevan, Ms. O'Hagan, Ms. Dr. Colson, Mr. Green, Mr. Boudris, and they did a fantastic job. And they get to the point where now they're getting requested to present at different conferences, which I think is great. In addition, one of our teachers, Ms. Pettit, a fifth grade teacher at Frank P. Long, was invited to present at the International Conference of Literacy, Culture, and Language Education held at Indiana University, Bloomington. She also hosts a blog called Grassroots Teaching and does fantastic work in her classroom, which again is a great accolade for one of our staff members that's getting national recognition and sharing best practices on the road. She was one of our presenters as well on the conference day. Mr. Finnegan, music teacher at the high school, was selected as a closed Nobel Educator of Distinction by the National Society of High School Scholars. What's really cool about this accolade is that he was nominated by his students. So he received a nice little shout out, as I like to say.
We talked to him about that shirt.
I wasn't
Bill's there, you know.
So it's funny, when I posted this picture, and for those who don't get the reference, it is a Buffalo Bills shirt. So if you're a football fan,
New York State.
it's still a New York team. So I almost was going to superimpose Clipper Pride on there to take this thing away. And also, SCMEA. SCMEA is the Suffolk County Music Educators Association. And one of our very own music teachers, Ms. Wasson, was elected as the president of the organization. So SCMEA hosted an administrators dinner on Thursday, where they invited administrators to participate in our music department. But again, these are our staff members making strides and sort of putting South Country on the map for really positive reasons. And if you don't know who she is the Pep Bland leader. She's at all our football games. She's there in the corner doing her thing with her musical students. So really a shout out to all of our music teachers. In reality, all of our staff and teachers who continue to do great things and continue to impress me. Students are also doing great things in our district, and I'm going to refer to the website at the end of my presentation because there's so much more that's posted there. But we just had our National Honor Society induction ceremony, so it's always great to celebrate and recognize students not just for their academic achievement, but their leadership skills, their scholarship, and their character. Those are some of the inductees. We're very proud to take a selfie with the superintendent. We're also going to reopen applications because we feel we didn't capture all the students that might have been eligible. So from our standpoint and from an equity standpoint, we want to make sure that as many students who are eligible for National Honor Society apply, and we're going to encourage that because it's an accolade they can put on their transcripts. So whether or not you're pursuing the workforce, military, or college, it's a good accolade to have, certainly if you've earned it. So we're going to be pushing to get more kids inducted. And I got to attend Rumors, the play over at the high school. Great time, a lot of fun. For those who are not familiar with Neil Simon's work, it's dialogue heavy. So I was super impressed at the amount of dialogue that these students were able to manage above and beyond the rigors of their classwork and all those other things that they do in school. It was really well put together, and as someone who's done comedy in the past, their comedic timing was pretty good. So really impressive for a very adult themed show for these high school students to really deliver a good product. I also want to give a shout out to our athletic teams. There were several teams that had playoff berths this year. Cross country was one of them. So our cross country team, or members of the team, made it to our county championships that was held at Sunken Meadow Park. There were 3 students. It was Ella Mason, Harry Yablon, and Joe Schaefer, who ran for South Country and did really well. Our varsity soccer team also made it to the playoff this season, so I wanted to give a big shout out to them, as well as our varsity volleyball team, who made it to the playoffs and really fought. All of our teams really compete with vigor and with great sportsmanship. That's one thing I notice when I go to these sporting events. Our teams exhibit that sportsmanship that really is a source of pride. And if the board is interested, or the community is interested in following our athletic programs, I do encourage to follow the Bellport Athletics Twitter account, which was established over the summer. They have a lot more postings than I have included here, but I wanted to make sure I acknowledge those teams. And of course, our football team that made the county championships. It's a huge accomplishment, so we're really excited about the game that's coming on Friday night at Stony Brook. For those people in the community who are interested in attending, you can purchase tickets online by visiting our website. And these are some shots from our last playoff game. Our tea leaders did a great job. Our pep band does a great job. Our fans, there's a couple of pictures with fans, are really great to support our students. So I just want to wish them luck on Friday night. Again, they'll be playing at Stony Brook at 7:30 p.m. So if you can make it, come down, come with your Clipper pride. Let's make some noise and see if we make it to the Long Island Championships, which would be fantastic. And I'd be remiss if I didn't mention all of our fall sports. Sports play a really crucial role in the lives of a lot of students, and their participation in teams foster camaraderie, teamwork, and leadership. So I wanted to give a shout out to all of our high school teams, and also offer a public apology that I didn't make it to enough middle school team sporting events. Not out of desire, but we were in full swing for the school year. But I made a pledge to visit them during their winter sports season. It's already underway. We already have competitions this week at the high school and middle school. So I encourage the community members and board members whenever they can to support our middle school kids as well. But winter sports are in full swing, and I'm excited to attend some of those competitions. So aside from doing all this fun work, and I really enjoy being in buildings as much as I can and interacting with students, we also do work in looking at our district. And one of the things that we're looking at as an administrative team is our organizational chart. We do this because we look at structures to increase, with the hopes of increasing efficiency, clear expectations, and accountability. School districts, in my opinion, and I think the board would agree, need to continually evolve to meet the ever-changing demands of our learning community. We need to ensure that we are properly staffed to work towards our board priorities and advance the school district forward. And finally, above and beyond academic achievement and the social and emotional well-being and the health and safety of our students, we have to be mindful of vulnerabilities. So what we do is you look at the organizational chart, and you want to make sure that everybody understands what their roles are respective to the organizational chart. And that's something that I've charged the administrative team with doing, and something we're looking at. And progress is slow and steady. And one of the jobs that the superintendent has is really having a global or a bird's eye view of the school district, and any progress that you make should be slow and systemic. And, you have other people within that chart to handle, sort of the day-to-day operations. But one of the things I want to sort of put on the radar for the Board of Trustees is the fact that absent in this organizational chart is a director of instructional technology. I've attended a couple of meetings with regards to cybersecurity, Education Law 2D, which speaks to confidentiality. You got to remember, school districts basically operate with a digital infrastructure, and we hold on to a lot of information that's confidential in nature. So the idea of that, because I'm not an IT person, is terrifying, and vulnerabilities are very real. I know the Board of Trustees is aware that Eastern Suffolk BOCES was hacked, Civil Service was hacked, the town was hacked, Comac School District was hacked recently. Right now, the Comac Union Free School District is operating pen and paper. They have no electronic infrastructure. So one of the purposes of having a director of technology is, of course, being on the cutting edge of cybersecurity. And this does not supplant our IT team. We have a fantastic IT team that focuses on the mechanical pieces and the programming pieces of our district, but we really need someone to really be on the forefront of all these vulnerabilities, these laws, and these things that we need to be mindful of. Above and beyond cybersecurity and vulnerabilities, they provide instructional support. As the board is aware, we use a lot of digital platforms. All of our students have Chromebooks, which again are access points for hackers. So the more you learn about cybersecurity, the more terrifying it becomes. So it's professional learning, cybersecurity, and of course grant writing. There are a lot of grants out there that have to do with instructional technology. So I do think it's imperative to have someone who's dedicated to really leading the charge on the technology front from an instructional perspective. I'll be following up with the Board of Trustees as I research this a little bit more and perhaps offering a proposal, because I do think it's a position that we sorely need. In addition to that, when we talk about vulnerabilities, I also want to recommend, and I will make a formal proposal, that we have a head of security to sort of navigate our security practices. Right now, the onus is on building principals, the onus is on our athletic director, depending on the events that we're orchestrating, and it's always good to have a point person to sort of orchestrate that mechanism moving forward. So we're going to research and cost these things out. We're going to find ways that we can do this within our budget so that there's no additional costs or expenditures to the school district. But I do think these positions are very important. So I'm going to continue doing my due diligence along with my administrative team to sort of promote these things. I just wanted to sort of bring awareness to the board and for the public that's viewing that we're looking at these things. In addition, we're also looking at engaging potentially in an energy performance contract. For those of you who are not familiar with what those are, basically energy performance contracts are budget neutral approach to make building improvements or capital improvements that are basically paid for by the savings you gain by making these improvements. So, and what's amazing about it and what's the benefit from it is that ultimately you get greener schools, so we reduce our carbon footprint. We have less energy expenditures, and it's shocking to when you start appreciating how much money is spent on energy. And the work that they do that's based on our savings is also aidable by the state. So it's also a way in the long term to generate revenue for the school district. In terms of what our next steps are, so Energia is a company that specializes in this, and they're currently working on a proposal for us, which includes a comprehensive assessment of our facilities, and they will be making a presentation to our Finance and Facilities Committee just to talk about what they do, what their findings are, and what they think they can do for the school district. Again, this is a great budget-neutral way of addressing building needs, creating a greener space for our students, and really running the school district more efficiently in terms of energy consumption. And this is just a list of the school districts that I'm familiar with that have signed energy performance contracts, and I highlighted the Glen Cove City School District because I just came from Glen Cove, and I kind of saw a lot of what they did. A quick example of something they might do is simple, removing light switches to motion detectors. So anytime somebody leaves a room, the lights go out. Seems obvious, seems like a simple fix. The amount of savings you get and the reduction of the carbon footprint is pretty remarkable when you do all these little things. And that's what these companies do. They come in, they make an assessment, and then based on what we save on our energy is how it's kind of funded. So I'll have a more detailed presentation for our Finance and Facilities Committee. And finally, for community members and everyone, I'll say this at every meeting, if you want to keep informed with the South Country happenings, as I like to call them, there is a community portal available on our homepage. There you'll access what's called Blackboard Connect Community Portal. You put in your information. So any email correspondence we send to our all district, as we call it, and our parents, you'll receive regardless of whether or not you have a child in the district. There's also the Superintendent's Corner. I do a monthly update on my homepage that you can read. I have my contact information there. Ms. Ciarfolletti is my assistant. If you're going to email me, I always say please include her in the email because I'll get 100+ emails a day, and sometimes I might miss one. So if she's included, she's on my back and make sure as I respond. Also has my Twitter feed. I have an Instagram account as well, but you can catch up with the Twitter feed on there. And finally, I do provide a weekly update, which is kind of like a blog that's posted on a weekly basis on that page as well. So I welcome the Board of Trustees. You receive it via email from me, but I welcome community members to read it as well. And again, the idea is to be transparent, be communicative, and so that the community is aware of some South Country happenings. And finally, I do want to take some time to acknowledge a very special organization that's really close to my heart, and I do want to read from this. So, and that's the South Country Educational Foundation. And I know Ms. Robin Roll is here, and I want to acknowledge the foundation. You know, I had the honor and privilege of attending the South Country Educational Foundation's Beach Bowl this past summer. And it was actually my first official South Country community event. And to sum it up, it was impressive. More impressive the support that they've continued to provide the school district year after year. This year, teachers and staff applied and were approved for grants that included esports. If you're not familiar with esports, basically it's competitive gaming. It's a multi-billion-dollar industry. Some school districts actually have competitive teams that compete against each other. So it's a whole new sort of venue for kids to kind of express themselves. Grants to provide for flexible seating in classrooms. That just makes the classrooms more accommodating and create a greater sense of belonging. It's a big trend in schools these days. Cultivating multicultural representation and biliteracy for our dual language program. Getting playground equipment to install a sensory playground for our kids at Kramer, I believe. Having our jazz ensemble not only perform at Stony Brook's Jazz Loft, but they'll be participating in a master class for those students. Community connection, having elementary school kids go down to the local pizza shop and learn how to make individual pizzas. It sounds pretty fantastic if you ask me. We have Tifa Chi, she's a Asian American artist who's pretty renowned and to come and do workshops with our students. And the foundation is also funding a trip to the Long Island Aquarium where they're going to talk about, it's an interactive trip where they'll talk with the aquarium staff, talk about some of our estuaries and create some environmental awareness. This is going to be available for the entire 5th grade. So this is fantastic. In all, the South Country Foundation has granted pretty much $50,000 in awards. So I wanted to thank you publicly and acknowledge you and just really show my appreciation for everything the foundation does for us. So thank you.
Would you like to make a comment?
Well, the foundation has pretty much a very happy job. We sit on a bunch of money and we give it
Hey guys,
out to people who
this is what I'm trying to do.
to people who come up with a great idea. And we've been doing this is our 25th year. And I think we've given well over $1 million to different programs in the district, and we plan on continuing, and you can all come for our event in July. It's open to the public, and it's at the Burns House in Belport, and we've never had rain, so.
And these are just some of the grants. You know, I highlighted a few, but there's a whole slew of grants that all benefit our kids, and so thank you again.
You're welcome. Thank you.
All right, and I think that concludes my portion of
All
the
right.
report.
Thank you, Mr. Superintendent. Okay, now we are on to the trustee and advisory committee reports. So we always like to begin with our student representative. Ms. Johnson.
Thank you. Red Ribbon Week took place October 23rd through the 31st. Each year, our school participates participates in Red Ribbon Week, which is a nationwide drug prevention campaign. And this year it was great to see many students dressed up for the theme of the day that week. This year's trunk or treat was a success. The kids were super excited to see all of the clubs that set up activities for them to participate in. As mentioned in the last meeting, we will be stuffing a bus with non-perishable food items and donating the food to local shelters. This year we are having a competition between faculty and students as well as the homeroom to bring in the most food. If anyone has any donations, please drop them off to the high school and you can mark them for student council. Winter sports began Monday and all sports are off to a great start. This Friday, our football team will be playing in the Suffolk County Championship at Stony Brook at 7:30, as Mr. Santana said, against Northport. The theme of the game is the blackout, and we hope to pack the stands out with a lot of Clipper pride. We were hoping to go to the city during December, but now we are hoping to go to the United Nations in January. For student council, we are continuing with letters to Santa and want to do Christmas in a shoebox again. For the second year in a row, we will be doing a reindeer food fundraiser to the elementary schools for the student council to fund a spring conference. As well, yeah, sorry, that's everything I have.
Quite a bit. Thank you.
All right. Do you need another seat so that we can continue with our meeting? Mr. Briggs, can you find another seat? All right. Thanks. Okay. Trustee Kavanaugh, would you like to continue with your report?
Thank you, President Felice. I just have one item to report on, which was the initial meeting of the Legislative Committee, which I attended with Trustee Trent and President Felice. The superintendent attended as well. A couple of members of our teaching staff and 3 members of the community. I think we got at least the beginnings of a framework of what we hope to be able to accomplish, and maybe some scheduling decisions made. And that's all I have. Thank you, President Felice.
All right.
No, nothing.
Happy on
No,
Mr. Trent? All right, Ms. Hayes?
I would just be duplicating some of your comments, Mr. Superintendent, with regard to the drama production at the High School of Rumors. And it just, you're right about the timing. They were really on that night. In addition, I did attend the cross-country event at Sunken Meadow. And it was a thrill to see all 3 of our students competing at that level. The conditions that day were very difficult, and it was impressive that they completed the course and that they were right in the middle of everything. In addition, the football game against North Babylon was a lot of fun, particularly because I like to sit at the 50-yard line, which put me up a little bit, right on level of our cheer team. And when they build that tower, where they've got the 3 levels, it's just, it's really breathtaking to see what they're doing. I also attended the Equity Subcommittee yesterday that's chaired by our Assistant Superintendent, Ms. Doyle, and she gave a presentation of everything that's going on within the district in order for our students to feel, belonging and the seal of civic readiness, the fact that our teachers are making presentations out of the district. Other districts apparently are wanting instruction from our district about how to improve their programs. That they're so impressed by what's going on. In addition, one of the items that was mentioned were the restorative practices that are being used for all of our students to their benefit. So what came out of the subcommittee is renewed enthusiasm for continuing a recognition that an awful lot's been done, but we want to keep an eye on, continuing improvement. So this one's, thank you very much, Ms. Doyle, for everything that you're doing on that.
Thank you very much. Trustee Barron?
Ultimately, I think it's exciting how the school year is going through, but I just wanted to share my accolades for the football team, but also for the academics of the district coming back from COVID. I hear so many positive things from community members, and I think that's fantastic.
Thank you. Trustee Pacino?
Sure. Well, congratulations, like everybody else said, to the athletic teams, the cross-country team, the soccer team, the volleyball team for their efforts in the playoffs, and to those students who participated in Rumors at the high school. I wasn't able to take in the show, but I really heard wonderful reviews about it, and as well as congratulations to our football team, and looking forward to a fun game and a victory on Friday night, and another trip to the LI Championship. Let's hope. I did get a chance, last week I attended, the Nassau Suffolk School Board held a conference at the Cradle of Aviation Museum, and it was really about offshore wind energy and the emerging industry of wind energy, as well as manufacturing on Long Island. It was a very well-run event, probably the best event I've been to in many, many years of being a trustee, and it was very, very informative, and it was really done very well. And if you haven't visited the Cradle of Aviation Museum, which it was my first time, well, really what a cool space. I've never been there, and it was really neat. And they brought us into the presentations were in like that IMAX theater with that 40-foot screen or whatever else it was, and it was about an hour's long. Each presenter had between 5 and 8 minutes to just kind of go through, and they had some very interesting guests. And it wasn't just about the offshore wind energy. They had a colonel from the Navy there talking about the industry of defense, and he was from the base up in New London where they build submarines. And there were some interesting facts that came out of it. I had no idea that there are 16,000 or 12,000 vendors that work on submarines, and 12% of those are on Long Island. There's little facts like that blew me away. But back to the wind energy, the whole theme from each speaker, and the speakers were made up from representatives from each of the public universities on Long Island and colleges. Nassau Suffolk Community College, Stony Brook, Old Westbury was there, and SUNY Farmingdale were there. And there was, as well as representatives from each of these wind companies and NYSERDA, the New York State Energy, I forget what the rest of the acronym goes for. The prevailing theme was that there are jobs coming to Long Island. They've started already between manufacturing, but the offshore wind energy, and the inability for companies on Long Island to draw people to Long Island because of the expense to live here. So they're looking to recruit kids who are still in high school now by encouraging them to get the right degrees and have the skills to go into these fields. Every single speaker mentioned math skills, which we know as a country we're kind of falling behind on. Math skills are needed in just about everything. What I found very interesting to me was that there are jobs anticipated. Well, let me go back and say there's 165,000 jobs in New York State right now in relation to clean energy. They're anticipating an additional 10,000 jobs from wind energy on Long Island. And they anticipate jobs being available at every level of skill and education, from high school diploma to 2-year degrees, 4-year degrees, masters, doctorates, et cetera. And one of the themes I picked up on from a lot of these companies that were there speaking was, people think manufacturing that, you're in a warehouse building things, and I always go back to the old Bugs Bunny commercial when he's banging on the bomb with the hammer on the conveyor belt, right? It's not like that. These are computer jobs, very math intense type of positions that fall under manufacturing and what they were looking for. I have so many notes here, I'm not gonna get through it all, but there were a couple of, LIA, Long Island Association, was a co-sponsor of this event. So what that really told me, and it was the first time in my 11 years of being on the school board that I've seen the business community connected so well with the school community and how they can cultivate talent here. And I just really thought that was very encouraging to see. So there was a lot of skills. I mean, one speaker brought up a brilliant point that I never thought of is, you want to work out on a wind farm and work on offshore windmills, you should learn how to swim. And people don't realize how many people don't learn how to swim, especially in diverse communities. It's not, and I've come from the swimming industry, so I've kind of known this for a number of years. There are a lot of details about how these wind farms get built and whether they're public or private, which is a little bit much for me to go into. But each university, each higher education that spoke talked about specialized certificates and programs from manufacturing to specific to clean energy or wind energy. SUNY Farmingdale was one that they spoke a lot about that. And very interesting that they talked on the lack of diversity in the clean energy industry to begin with. And I mean, it was kind of, the presenter, she was speaking a lot about, you know, if I tried to invite an African-American female to come speak on working in clean energy, I couldn't find somebody. And that was something that there was a real effort to try to, you know, create opportunities for so many different people. I thought that was really encouraging to see, especially in a district like ours that is so diverse. So that was something that I thought was really interesting. I talked about the Navy thing was very, very interesting. And then the whole thing was cultivated at the end, which I thought was wonderful, was they had a senior from West Islip High School who had a summer internship at a company called it's Designa something. It was an interesting name. Anyway, he received an internship over the summer. He was a Lego robotics student as well, and part of that club. He actually built a robot that worked on their receiving docks over the summer. And I was like, wow, what a really cool experience. And this young man came up and was really very articulate and spoke very well about his experience and how it motivated him to be an engineer. And, you know, he didn't get into where he's going to school yet. I don't know if he's made that decision yet. He's a senior right now. So it was really neat to see how it started, how the presentations went, and to see it get wrapped in a ribbon with a student talking about the need and things that he was able to do here on Long Island. I felt really encouraged. I appreciate that Jack Burke was there, a director of STEM. I didn't get a chance to kind of debrief with him at the end because when it broke up kind of quick. So I'd love to, you know, get his input and see if he was as charged up as I was, because I thought it was great, and I hope if they do it again. I even talked a little bit about maybe expanding that event to like a couple of days event where people can come through and we can make it like a trade show and people can, you know, in different districts at different capacities can really learn about what's coming, because I think we all know how difficult it gets to live on a place like Long Island and how expensive it is. So if we can keep people here for high-paying jobs, I think that's a wonderful thing. So so it was an excellent event. So hopefully there's more information to come, and you know, hopefully I can get a copy of the presentation. I ended up taking pictures because the screen was so big, everything came out. But the list of presenters was really interesting. So
And one of the things just really quickly that we should hold on to is that there are opportunities for every skill level, from high school diploma to a doctorate degree in these new industries. Because I think a lot of us have a fixed mindset as to what work is. You know, if you don't go and pursue college, you know, you think about trades, but the industry is changing. And I keep hearing research that like 30% of the jobs that our kids will have don't exist yet. And so how do you best prepare them? And I think that's kind of, you know, the emphasis of this conference is, you know, you need to prepare them with math skills. You need to increase rigor at early ages so that everybody's going to have that competence to be able to fill these jobs, because they're having a lot of trouble filling these vacancies because people lack the skills, and school districts have to kind of adjust their instructional programs to meet the demands of jobs that don't exist, which is almost abstract sounding, but that's why we start really focusing on what we used to call soft skills that are not so soft anymore.
All right, thank you, Trustee Puccini. Thank you for attending and for bringing that information. So,
Excuse me,
yes,
do we have to act on D2 by any chance?
D2.
those are the grants from South Country, that would be in
It
business.
says action, so I'm not sure if there's.
Oh, that was a discussion we had earlier in the week that we,
Right. I don't believe we
didn't-
do.
we didn't, hold on one second.
If we did, it should be in business anyway, right?
We listed, as we had in the past, that question, I think we were supposed to raise that question to legal counsel, because we have formally passed a resolution accepting grants. And and because this list was provided to us, whether or not we should make a resolution to formally accept the grants that were provided by the Education Foundation. So if you need to research that, we can just put that back on the agenda for the next meeting. Or if you think we should take,
I'd like to review the underlying document.
okay. So we're gonna pass that. Thank you for bringing that to our attention, Mrs. Flynn. So council will review the document of all the wonderful grants that were provided to us from the South Country Education Foundation. And if we have to formally accept that in a resolution, we'll put it on the agenda for the next meeting. All right.
Can we inform the applicants that they've gotten the grants?
Oh, there'll be no problem with them
Okay.
receiving the grants.
Fine. It's
Yeah,
just-
it won't impede the award process.
All right.
All right? It's a formality that we did notice at our agenda meeting last week, and that's why it was just a bit of an oversight. All right?
Yep.
Thank you. Having said that, Madam District Clerk, could you provide me with the verbiage for the guide to the public portion? What's in here is is reference to the open meeting law. You know, where we talk about 30 minutes, 3 minutes,
Okay,
that document. Is it,
I actually gave that, are you still there?
Is that here?
Which document?
it is here, okay. When we come to it?
I think it's.
Okay,
So do you
Ms.
want-
Flynn, I have a
Oh,
copy.
you have it?
we have it. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so, just to conclude with the board officers' reports, I attended the New York State School Board Association Annual Conference and Pre-Conference Law Seminar held in Syracuse, New York, October 26th through the 29th. A full report to the board will follow, except that I just want to say, every individual seminar focused on the social, emotional well-being of not only our students, especially our students, but not only the students. The faculty, the support staff, everyone connected with the school district, including Board of Education members and administration. But the focus on more social workers, not less, was the emphasis behind every single seminar that I attended over those 3 days. So, like I said, more information will be coming. Also this week, I attended, as a community member, I attended the Brookhaven Landfill and Remediation Group, LARG. I attended their meeting, their Zoom meeting on November 4th, and spoke about the school board's process with respect to legislative action and advocacy. Then also, as Trustee Kavanaugh stated, led the first legislative committee meeting of the year. That was held on November 9th, and as she said, herself was present, along with Trustee Trent and the superintendent, and a very nice complement of residents in a meeting to kick us off into what our legislative action should be in going forward and developing our mission. And again, the minutes are being prepared, so they'll be distributed once completed. Also, to echo the comments everybody said about the impressive playoff win for our varsity team, as well as all of our sports teams in their playoff endeavors. And also the Rumors play that I was lucky enough to attend. And to take a quote out of the superintendent's report, their comedic timing and quick wit was just second to none. And I enjoyed that play more than I thought I was going to, because Neil Simon's always been a little hard for me to follow, and it was just fabulous. And then finally, Compass Unity meeting was yesterday on November 15th, where this group continues to address curbing alcohol and drug use. They spoke of a successful Red Ribbon Week, as our student representative also spoke of, and that concludes my report. So we are on to public commentary for agenda items. We do not have agenda item requests. These are all non-agenda. So those will go at the second part of our meeting. Okay. Items for discussion, budget retreat.
Yes. Thank you. So a board retreat is one way for board members to explore emerging issues, address concerns, review and clarify roles, responsibilities, set goals and priorities, and develop a cohesive board. So retreats allow for focused decisions and strategic thinking about how best to serve the school district and its community. One thing I want to emphasize for the Board of Trustees that knows this, but also for the public, that retreats are educational in purpose, are not business meetings. So the idea of having a budget retreat is really to acquaint ourselves and familiarize ourselves with the budget process, especially for our newest board members who have not participated in a budget season. So what we're looking at, what we're proposing, and what we agreed to was having a retreat scheduled for tomorrow at 6:30. And its theme is going to be understanding school budgets. I think school budgets can be overly complicated, even for people who have done it for a few years. Certainly for me, I've been a passive participant watching presentations years after years. So I think it's really important that we're all well informed as to how school budgets work and all the different set of components to it. Second to that is a meeting scheduled for November 30th that we entitled Financial Forecasting, Planning for the Budget Season and Beyond. And again, both of these retreats are informative or educational in purpose. They're not business meetings, but there's an opportunity for us to work collaboratively with our business official, Mr. Gee, and ask questions and best prepare for the budget season that, considering how the school year is going, is really just around the corner. So at this point, I ask President Felice if there's any discussion, or I'm just looking forward to a fruitful meeting.
And likewise, we are as well. Everyone has been notified. So we'll see everyone here tomorrow night. Okay.
Thank you.
All right, we're up to item G, consent agenda for curriculum.
There we go. The administration recommends approval of curriculum items reflected in schedules G1 through G4.
Okay, you have before you item G1 through G4. Do we have a motion and a second to approve? Motion by Vice President Hayes, seconded by Taker. Okay, Trustee Trent. Any discussion on any of those four items? Seeing no discussion, all those in favor of G1 through 4, please raise your hand. Thank you. Seeing all hands raised, the motion passes unanimously. And now we're up to consent agenda items for personnel.
The administration recommends approval of personnel changes reflected in schedules H1 through H13.
Okay, you have an approval for H1 through H
6.13.
6.13. Thank you. Motion and a second. Motion by Trustee Barry, seconded by Trustee Kavanaugh. Any discussion? All those in favor, please raise your hand. Thank you very much. Hands, with all hands raised, that motion passes unanimously. You have another
Yes.
motion?
Administration recommends the approval of personnel changes reflected in schedules H614 and H615.
So H6, you making a motion for that?
Yeah.
Motion for H614 and H615, motion by Trustee Pacini, seconded by Vice President Hayes, yes, no?
Yeah.
Yes? Vice President Hayes, any discussion? No discussion, all those in favor, please raise your hands. Thank you. All those opposed, raise your hands. Seeing two opposed, the motion carries 5-2.
Okay. Finally, in personnel agenda items, the administration recommends approval of personnel changes reflected in schedules H616 through H10.
And the balance of the personnel agenda H616 through H10. Motion. Need another motion. Trustee Kavanaugh, seconded by Trustee Flippin. Any discussion? No discussion. All those in favor, please raise your hands. Seeing all hands raised, the motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Now we're up to consent agenda item for business.
The administration recommends approval of business items I1 through I11.
Okay. We have before you items I1 through I11. We need a motion and a second, please. Motion by Trustee Flippin, seconded by Trustee Barry. Any discussion? Seeing no discussion, all those in favor, please raise your hands. Seeing all hands raised, The motion passes unanimously. And now we are up to the public commentary for non-agenda items. And if I may read, thank you. The public commentary announcements. Public commentary will occur 2 times during the meeting, first in the beginning of the meeting for agenda items only, second at the end of the meeting for non-agenda items and also agenda items if you have decided that you found something that you wanted to speak on. Comments from each speaker are limited to 3 minutes. The total time for public session is limited to 30 minutes. Comments related to a personnel matter or individual students will not be entertained in public. Public commentary is a time for the board to hear comments from the public. It's not a question and answer period between the board and the public. If asked, informational questions requiring short answers will be addressed. However, the board will not enter into a dialogue with the speaker during public commentary. District residents who seek additional information will be guided to the administrator who will address their questions or concerns. Thank you. And having said that, first on the, first up to speak, and Mr. Briggs is going to move the podium over.
Good.
I think that's good, yeah. Are you looking at the YouTube, Vinnie? Vinnie, are you viewing the YouTube? Can you see the podium in the YouTube link? Okay, great. Okay, first is Abena Acer. And the clerk will begin the timer for 3 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. For those that don't know me, my name is Abena Asari. I am a local resident. I am a mom of 2 kids who are in the district at Brookhaven Elementary, also at Frank P. Long. I'm here today, this was really interesting. There's a lot I could speak about, but I'm here for one specific purpose, which is to really talk to the board and ask you to take a more vocal role in advocating for the environmental health of our students, staff, and households within this district. I am a part of BLARG, which is the Brookhaven Landfill Action Group, and part of what I wanted to express tonight is the fact that I really believe there is a role for our school board in fighting for a healthier environment for our kids. And I want to talk more about why I think that the school board has this specific role, and then talk about what some of the specific actions that I would like you all to kind of discuss and think about in terms of this advocacy role. So the first thing is, when we look at the history of the Brookhaven landfill, which I'm sure everybody on this board actually knows much more than I do, this is a infrastructure site which has had such a huge impact on the households, the family, the staff within this district, and also it still continues to have it. The health impacts, when you look at the EPA's assessments for specifically air quality around the Brookhaven landfill, specifically within the North Bellport area, we are ranking between the 80th and the 95th percentile nationally in terms of all sort of air quality environmental justice indicators, right? Which has to do with diesel trucks. It has to do with 350,000 tons of incinerator ash, which are dumped there every year. It has to do with the 600,000 tons of actual construction waste, which are dumped there. These things have an impact on how kids breathe. When we look at the asthma rates, we know that North Bellport, this area has some of the highest asthma hospitalization rates within the county, right? These are issues which are impacting what kids are bringing in to the classroom with them, impacting how they learn. We can talk about economic impacts as well. Is my time up?
Yes.
Oh my gosh, okay.
Just wrap up if you would.
Thank you. I will just wrap up, and then I'll have to come back again. The main thing is I really feel like there's a role for the board here. There are other school boards which are taking an active role in these sort of environmental issues, specifically the Syosset school boards and then the Brentwood school boards are ones that you can look to. There is a real role here in terms of economic advocacy
We've got to ask you to wrap up.
as well.
Thank you.
Yeah, so that's where I'll stop now. Thank you for your time, and I hope to continue this conversation later. Thanks.
Thank you very much for being here. Next, we have Lynn, is it Mayer? Or Mar? Mar?
That's good. Good evening, everybody. I'm a 33-year resident of Brookhaven and the South Central School District. I never had any children, so none of them were ever here. But what brought me here today is that there's some legislation in front of Governor Hochul right now that's called the Cumulative Impact Legislation. And it's basically for polluters that they look at only the individual polluter. They look at this one guy and say, this one company and say, you know, how much pollution does this person put in the air? Now this legislation is to look at the area that you're in and how many polluters are there and what's the cumulative effect on the health of the community. Now we all know that the Brookhaven landfill and the environmental injustice burden it has put on the community. 50 years of breathing diesel fumes, toxic ash, and having a toxic plume from one of the leaking cells has led to the fence line community being designated as an environmental justice community. Some of the health effects caused by this are, as Abena had said, increased emergency room admissions for asthma, and the second lowest life expectancy on Long Island. The effects of the pollution on children are cognitive disabilities, frequent absenteeism, and frequent suspension. What I'm trying to ask the board is to understand that in an environmental injustice area where children and adults and everybody's health is affected, I feel like the board needs to stand up and speak to, I don't know if they'll listen to you, but speak to the Brookhaven IDA about the tax breaks that they're giving to new polluting entities that are coming into the community. I mean, South Brookhaven is becoming almost like a mini version of like Cancer Alley, where they're just putting many, many toxic and polluting industries in here and giving them tax breaks. And I feel that if the children in the community are disadvantaged health-wise by the pollution and then are not getting the funding that they need. And it's my understanding that one of the school board's function is to get funding for the programs that they feel the students need, right? Is that one of the functions of the school board, or am I in error?
Just continue on with your statement, if you would, please.
Oh, you can't answer that? You can't just say yes or no? That's true, or it's not true?
Well, our role is to get funding, but.
Okay, that's all I want to know. Anyway, I believe that a toxic landfill combined with a reduction in funding can have severe ramifications.
Can you finish up?
Okay, I believe that the board, as advocates for our students, need to speak clearly to the IDA and let them know that the school board, along with the community, believes our students are more deserving of that money than a corporation that can well afford those taxes. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
All right. Next up is Jennifer Green.
So thank you for this time. I am the parent of an alum, and for the past year, I have attended the meetings of the Equity in Education Subcommittee of the Teaching and Learning Committee. And I'm here tonight to commend and thank those responsible for the work being done in our district to promote belonging and dignity and civic readiness and restorative practices. The more I learn about it, the more encouraged and hopeful I feel And Trustee Hayes already referred to some of the following in her summary of last night's subcommittee meeting, but I'd like to lift them up once more. I am so happy to know about the student and staff belonging surveys, which are assessing who may and may not feel a sense of belonging, and which are followed by empathy interviews. I'm so happy about the community circles that help students get comfortable talking and sharing in a circle. So happy to learn that Kai Watkins has been trained to serve now as the restorative practices facilitator with staff who are coaches. And I don't know much yet about the Civic Seal of Readiness, but it sounds great and I look forward to learning more. So this is to thank Beth Doyle and Jackie O'Hagan and Kai Watkins and the equity leaders and restorative practices coaches and you, our board and superintendent, for your support of all this vital work. I believe it is of significant benefit to the students of our district and our whole community. 3 minutes go quickly, but I also want to use my time tonight to second the comments of Dr. Abena Asare and Ms. Lynn Marr. Just FYI, Ulster County Industrial Development Agency requires the applicants to them to seek approval from 3 taxing entities, the Kingston Common Council, Ulster County Legislature, and Kingston School Board. And I thought it was very interesting to find out that there, is another place that that does that. And recently, they said that there's a school board member, Herbert Lamb, who said he received assurance from the Deputy County Executive that the IDA would follow their policy by not awarding a tax break that the school board had indicated they wanted it rejected. So my time's almost up. But anyway, just letting you know on that issue, what is happening in other places. So thank you again so much for your time tonight and keep up the great work.
Thank you, Jennifer.
Thank you.
Okay, next up, it's William, but is it Coquel? Coquel?
Coquel.
Coquel?
Hi, folks, thank
You
you.
have 3 minutes.
My name is William Coquel, and I lived in East Patchogue for 57 years, same house. I am an American disabled veteran, 3 years in the United States Army, 16 months in careers, 10 months on a DMZ. And the reason I say that is because when I come back home, because of my disability, I couldn't do what I wanted to do and go into the trade. So I went into shell fishing, and I have no complaints, everything was okay. 1970, they opened up North Belport, the North Belport Bay. They opened up right up to the beach. 1970, we worked there, it's good going. We worked at the mouth of Commons River. 1970, they closed it, they never opened it again. It's for over 50 years. I say that because, and the reason I come here is for the children who are drinking the water that is poisoned by the landfill, and also breathing the air from the airfill. I came out of Home Depot with my 2 grandkids in 1999, and they took their shirts and they pulled them up and put them over their nose because of the stink. Now they cover the dumps so that you can't smell it, but it's still there. I had a commitment in the homeless shelter, and I had a commitment in the minimum security in Yaphank, and right between them is the dumps. I used to pick up kids in the homeless shelter, and those kids trust me as an adult to make sure that the air is breathable and the water is drinkable. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, and thank you for your service. Okay, that concludes our public commentary. No more cards? Okay. All right. That takes us up to closing remarks by board members. Closing remarks. Anybody closing remarks? Yeah, I just would like to make one closing remark just to, in reference to advocacy and some of the work that is being done with the Legislative Committee and our work with the New York State School Board Association, of which also in conjunction with the Nassau-Suffolk School Board Association, of which Chris sits on as the representative from our district, and I sit on as the delegate for this district for the New York State School Board Association. And much of the advocacy that we do is guided by these two entities who have been in the business for years. And some of the comments that were made tonight are some of the topics that are going to be tackled. And why you heard us be so proud tonight that we launched for the first time this year, the first meeting of our legislative committee, so that we can come together as a community in moving forward. And those discussions have been and will continue to be underway. And so I do want to thank those who spoke. I do want to thank everyone who attended the meeting tonight, because it's so important that we work together as one. And I also want to not only thank the Board of Education, because we've been doing wonderful work since the beginning of the year, but also the superintendent. You see the work that the superintendent is doing to carry out the mission of the Board of Education in our interview process. We wanted someone who was going to look at our structure, look at the organizational chart, and hold people accountable for doing the jobs that they're doing. That's been recognized with some of the comments that were made with the work that Ms. Doyle is doing. And I hear nothing but accolades about the Equity Committee. And I'm sorry I missed the Equity Committee today. I didn't go on my calendar, so I'm going to make sure I didn't miss an email as to why it didn't. But the accolades I get, that I hear about that committee is also just very heartwarming. And so this community should rest assured that you're in good hands. And I again, I just want to thank the Board of Education, our district clerk, our cabinet here with our assistant superintendents, and certainly the superintendent, Mr. Santana. And legal counsel has a lot to do with it too, not to forget Barbara. So anybody, there was no other
I
comments?
do. I just have a small request.
Certainly.
Mr. Santana, if you can grab an exact number of how many students in the district don't have a Chromebook because it's damaged, can you just report that to the board, if there are any at all?
Yeah, I just want to thank you for your comments. It's a pleasure working here and servicing this community. It's a complex position to be in. We certainly want to advocate for our kids and our community in the best manner we can. And so we're sort of having those conversations and just getting an appreciation of what it is that we can do and what's under our purview. And I'm looking forward to the continued collaboration. I do appreciate all the comments that are made, public session, and hearing the voices of our community members. So thank you for that. And I pledge to keep working hard. You know, I think I appreciate the comments about the Equity Committee. I keep saying this, South Country is ahead of the curve in many respects. We are. And, you know, what we're trying to do is just help evolve the district. And I always like using this analogy, which is really stupid, and I apologize, but I think we could all argue that Celine Dion has a beautiful singing voice, yet she has a coach, because she's always perfecting her craft. And that's what we want to do. We want to perfect our craft. We're a learning institution. We want to meet the needs of our community. We want to celebrate our diversity, because I think it's an asset. And I do believe that South Country is the crown jewel of Long Island. And I'm happy to be here.
Thank you. On that note, is there a motion to adjourn? There we go. Trustee Trent, motion to adjourn, seconded by Trustee Barry. There's no objection. We stand adjourned. Thank you very much, everyone.
Because it's